Yeah. Damn. So where was the last country you're at? Because I know you travel
So
a lot.
yeah. So actually, I was in Vietnam for my birthday last month in February. I decided to go there very last minute, and then found like quite a cheap ticket to go to Hanoi. So I was there for a little bit.
Damn. How did you like Hanoi? What was your favorite thing about it?
I know it's like for people who spend time in Vietnam, like you said, maybe that's not the first choice to visit, but I quite like how um, kind of calm and quiet it felt like, especially around the big what it lake, Old Town,
Oh
and
yeah,
it,
that's last.
mm. So there's
The
a bit of
old time.
nature. Can't complain about that. Cheap drinks. Can't complain about that. So all the good stuff. Oh.
Man, when you come from Bali, it's like everything is cheaper. Bali's been so saturated with what
Hmm.
Chingu and Seminyak that like everything is just skyrocketed. If you want to go to Western spots and do all that, it's like damn.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hanoi and Saigon are probably the most expensive places, but it's way cheaper than like America, or way cheaper than
Hmm.
Bali, and even cheaper than Shanghai where I was. So a lot of me, I just want to kind of stay where I'm at, make it work. If I make more money here doing a lot of stuff, I'll just stay
Hmm.
here because China, you get a little bit more freedom to be a creator and to be a just citizen of the world in Vietnam. You ain't got to worry about certain things, people watching you or cameras here,
That's
cameras there. It's like whatever. Everyone's just kind
yeah.
of doing their thing. No one cares as long as you don't do anything crazy. You can have fun.
And
So that's
on
cool.
top of that,
So your family,
I would say
go ahead.
the food was one of the highlights of my trip in Vietnam because I really enjoyed Vietnamese food generally. So that was
Yeah.
that was a huge plus point being there.
Oh, damn. So what dish? Do you remember the name of the dish?
I mean, pho, it's not very adventurous, but pho was definitely one. And then
Yeah.
bún bò or something. I forgot
Bumbo.
the
What?
like
Bumbo.
some
I mean,
type
there's
of
a lot of bumbos. There's
yeah,
a
I
lot
don't
of
know.
bumbos.
I forgot. It's just like salad with like glass noodles and beef and spring roll. So it was quite nice. Felt healthy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And real quick, you're recording this, right?
I'm recording this. Yeah. It says
Oh,
recording.
I see the light. My bad.
Yeah.
All right, cool. We're good. So where is your family? So do you travel a lot? Do you see them often? Where are they?
So I have family both in the Philippines and also in Indonesia. I have
Hmm.
some family members also abroad in Germany and in Singapore. Generally, I think I would see them at least once every, I want to say 2 years or 3 years, especially the Filipino side. Um, but because of COVID, it stopped for a while. Like it stopped becoming that as frequent as I used to. But yeah, I would say once every
Right.
2 3 years. But because I was in Bali for a longer time, but my family isn't there, then it's easier for me to see my family members because flights are definitely cheaper domestically in Indonesia.
Yeah. Damn. So who do you say you take after more, or you look like more your mama or your dad?
I
If
would
there is an order.
say I look like I would say 99% like my dad because uh, he had this like kind of tall, big kind of frame, and I resemble
Yeah.
that more because my mom is super petite. So from that, I take after my dad. I would say looks wise also more from the Filipino side rather than the Indonesian side.
That's interesting. It's like I've been in
Mm.
all these Asian countries, and I'm like, the women look distinctly different, in Indonesia,
Mm.
in the Philippines, than even Vietnam, than also East Asia. I'm actually able to see all the differences. And I feel like Indonesian and Filipino in that part of the world, and you guys look more like Latin, like Latina, whereas like
Mm.
Vietnamese are kind of between East Asian and Southeast Asian look,
Mm.
and then East Asian, like straight up, just Chinese or Korean or Japanese. but you guys have like a very Latin look. I mean, Philippines was the Spanish were there, I believe. So
Hmm.
I can see that, and that influence kind of spread around.
How about Thai? Can you tell like if someone is Thai, what do you think they look like?
They just have I think they're a bit darker brown skin
Mm.
than Vietnam, but a lot of Vietnamese are fairly brown skinned too. So
Hmm.
it's a weird. I can't really tell. I always
Hmm.
wonder like why can't I tell someone's Thai? I don't know. Can you?
Yeah.
I
I
can't
I
tell
honestly
someone's
cannot.
Thai.
When I'm
I don't
abroad,
know
like
why.
I spend time in Europe and in the States as well. People when they guess where I'm from, one of the first three guesses they would give me probably would include Thai.
Hmm. Why is
For
that?
some reason.
You think?
Because I don't know. And also, I don't know, this is a bit TMI. Some people think I'm a ladyboy because I'm on the taller side. And that
Yeah.
is actually quite a, like, I mean, I used to be so offended by it, but now I'm like, okay, because I'm on the taller, like, part of the
Right.
spectrum, maybe. Yeah.
That's bullshit. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the problem with Thailand is like you never really know. You're just going around doing your thing,
Mm,
and you're just like, I don't know. And I think that's another reason why I can't really tell if someone's Thai or not, because a lot of them are just you can tell there's all these different looks and all these things they've done to themselves. So I'm
mm,
like, I don't know. But one distinct feature I remember the Thai had were they a lot of them they bleached their hair. They bleached their hair like blonde. It's like a blondish,
yeah.
like brown streaks and brown. I remember seeing that in Chiang Mai a lot. And that's how I was like, oh,
Mm,
okay, like brown skin and then like the bleach blonde hair.
mm,
That was a distinct feature,
yeah.
but it's not a natural thing, obviously. But
Yeah.
anyways, Thailand's a cool spot, but
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell. Listen, I can't tell someone's Thai. But
Mm.
how about Bali? What's a distinct feature about the Balinese, would you say? How can you tell someone's
Um,
Balinese since spend so much time there?
so historically speaking, I mean, people who are natural, like from when they were born, they are considered Balinese. I would say in terms of facial features, they resemble Javanese a lot, which is the bigger island next to it. But it's so hard to find real Balinese, even in the pool, like the areas that we stayed in, Seminyak and Canggu. It's so hard to find people who are actually real Balinese that hang out with you. Like, of course, there are a lot of people who work there in hospitality. But in
Right.
terms of, I would say in my circle, it's probably I know one or two real Balinese that were born and raised there. A lot of girls, they're very diverse. They come from every corners of the world, every corners of Indonesia. So it's a bit hard to pinpoint which Indonesian are you? Like, are you Balinese? Are you Javanese? Are you from this island or that island? Literally, like girls come to Bali to, I don't know, reach their dreams. I don't know what dreams, but everyone does.
I think the foreigners, we go to Bali for a vacation, and then we get there and
Mm,
we realize it's like paradise. So then we all want to stay,
mm,
a little longer. And I think it's the same. Like we want to achieve this dream of being able to work remotely and live on a beach and all this other stuff. And
mhm,
people like me who
yeah,
just like fail miserably, not miserably, but fail. It's a hard place for a foreigner to
mm,
find work and like survive. It's like you have to be in the
mhm,
nightlife, you have to own like a restaurant or bar, or it's like you have to
yeah,
be able to work from it's all hospitality. So if you don't have a
mhm,
strong foundation in that, then there's nothing else you can really do aside from just work remotely. And although I had the foundation, I don't think I just had the resources at the time to keep sustaining the
mhm,
life and pursuit. Um, but we all go there. We have our experiences. Of course, dating is the big thing, and
mm,
better or worse, a lot of people have good times. A lot of people have hard times, but it has
mhm.
a notoriety. Is it notoriety? Notorious. It's notorious
Notoriety.
for
Yeah.
kind of like the toxic dating culture for those that have been there for a while. If you're just visiting for like a week, you don't really tell the difference.
Mm.
But for someone who's lived there for a long time, even including myself, I was total there for 4 months. Is Bali as toxic as people make it out to seem when it comes to like a dating culture?
I would
What do you-
say probably there's a lot of truth in that, but there's a lot of genuine, you know, people that really look for something long term. But the most part, because as you mentioned, it's quite transient. There's a lot of people that come and go, so it's up to you to filter those out, whether you want something long term or short term. But yeah, there's
Yeah,
a lot of people because just there's this illusion of options there. So many options. So even if you find like, oh, an argument with one guy, don't worry, there's the next guy that's waiting for you. And that goes both ways. So that's the toxic part that I would see. Like people don't really work like to like, I don't know, just retain something that could be meaningful for them because there's always the next person, there's always the next group of tourists or next party where you can meet the next contender, you know. So that's what I would consider toxic, not necessarily the people, just so many good looking people. I'm gonna say that it's hard.
yeah. It's like Los Angeles in a way. I remember living in LA, like
Mhm.
who did I say? I'm not gonna say his name, but I remember hearing from one of my friends. He's like, people don't come here for relationships. They just come here to kind of just mess around. And I learned over time that LA was like it was like almost an impossible place to have a relationship because there's so many new attractive people all the time, including tourists.
Mm,
But Bali is almost like a microcosm of that because it's a lot smaller, but it has the same
yeah.
dynamic of constant, steady flow of foreigners and all the time
Yeah.
there's different options. It's not even imagine if there was no Tinder or no Bumble, it would still be almost the same way because there's so many new people always arriving every day.
Mhm.
You would just expect to be able to meet someone new at a bar like every other night. And that
Yeah.
with the addition of dating apps, it's like, oh my God, it's just like
And
you have too much
I
candy at
want to
your
say,
disposal.
yeah, that's true. And I want to say as well,
Too
like
easy, too easy.
there's a lot of people who go to Bali to heal from whatever trauma that they have wherever they come from. So maybe like they think, oh, it's something temporary. So they act like it's temporary because in the mindset, I don't know, everything there, it's like it can be disposed at one point. So I don't know if it comes from personal experience, like, but I don't know if it's common enough for me to say that's about Bali, but some people maybe go to LA to do other things like to get famous or whatever, but people go to Bali to like escape and they have so many problems back home where they come from and that's not resolved and they bring kind of like this, oh, I can live as a new person now in Bali. And then yeah, because there's that mindset that's like, oh, I'm only going to be here for like 3 years and I'm going to go back. So they don't really take accountability or responsibility to the things they initiate potentially in Bali. So that could be
Yeah.
toxic as well.
Do you think it's Bali that they come to real discover themselves or just Ubud? Because I don't feel like anywhere else on the island people try and
Oh,
discover them. Except for Ubud and
yeah.
maybe Uluwatu. They go to those little,
Mm,
places. I don't know. I almost feel like it's a fad. It's like not really
yeah.
a thing. It's just like people say they go to do that, but it's kind of like a temporary, like stage.
Mm.
What is it? Stage. What do you think? I don't know. Is it just like Ubud or does the whole
Yeah,
island like
probably.
really kind of
I
just
mean, a
like
lot in
what?
Ubud. Yeah, a lot in Ubud, but um, there is probably all these like because it's so exciting to be in Bali. Sometimes like my friend and I like to call it like Peter Pan syndrome. Guys who are already like, I mean, not to be ageist or anything, but guys who are in their 50s, but they still act like they're in their 20s, you know? Like they don't want to grow up because there's always these new exciting things in Bali. So sometimes, not that I date 50-year-olds, but sometimes it's just annoying to witness, you know?
Peter Pan syndrome. I've never heard of that.
Mm.
Is that a new term or did you guys create that? Or
I don't
yeah,
know. Some
is that an old term or did you create it?
I didn't create this. Some clever people did,
Oh.
so just
Peter Pan.
reusing it.
Peter Pan syndrome exists. So I was in Scottsdale, Arizona. Peter Pan syndrome exists there, where the older
Mm.
guys they start dressing like they're in their 20s and 30s. Like you can tell the style, the energy.
Mm.
It's kind of similar around Southeast Asia. I think a lot of older men find that that age doesn't really matter anymore, and they kind of just like do whatever they want. Especially if they're coming from the
Mm.
West with Western money, then the money goes farther. It gives a little bit more freedom and flexibility and maybe confidence. Uh,
Yeah.
but also I think it's just our generation. I don't know. The younger people feel older and older people feel younger. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
People are Kids are growing up faster, becoming more hypersexualized quicker, and also older people are feeling younger. So we're all like in our 20s and 30s, technically. We're all, oh, not technically, but we all feel like we're in our 20s and 30s, like no matter what age we're in. It's this weird
Hmm.
generation. But yeah, Bali is still a
That's true.
beautiful place to me. I think my second time around, I found more value in it because I wasn't really trying to go out and party so much. I was trying to explore and see the
Hmm.
mountains. We went to the mountains at one time. That was cool with the lake, the volcano, and I think the Philippines also has some beautiful places. I went to El
Hmm.
Nido, Palawan, Nakban Beach, probably my favorite beach I've ever been to. How would you
Hmm.
say life in Bali compares to life in the Philippines? And where did you,
Um,
you might have said Canada, but where did you spend the most time? How would that comparison look
I
like?
so I actually never technically lived in the Philippines. Like I spent time in
Okay.
during my childhood in the Philippines, but that's as far as my kind of experience living. But I have no recollection of what I was like when I was a kid. But I
Yeah.
spent the most time, I would say, in Singapore. And so
Mm.
I cannot really objectively compare Bali to the Philippines or Indonesia to the
About
Philippines because,
Singapore. We can talk about that.
yeah, but it's very different. Like just from one is a pretty much like a metropolitan city country, Singapore it is, and then
Yeah.
Indonesia, Philippines are both archipelagos, so they differ in nature and the way people live. So I would say I think coming to Bali, like as a person who never lived there before, really felt like heaven in the beginning because also when I settled there full time, it was during COVID, so that was an experience like no other, and I was very happy that I did that. But I cannot compare that to the Philippines or Singapore.
Yeah. So you're one of the COVID people that got stuck in Bali.
There's
Everyone
a lot of
that's
people
ever
from
said they got
Shanghai.
stuck in Bali, huh? A lot from
There's
Shanghai,
a
right?
lot.
My
Mm,
Mariano was there. Isaac, I think, at some point made it there. Some other people, but everyone that got stuck there during COVID had like the best time of their lives because
mm,
everything was like
yeah,
cheap. There's no flow of tourists. It like, kind of like felt like your own. Oh my God.
yeah.
So Singapore, like, how is Singapore life? Is it more like it's more urban centric, and is it
Hmm.
more, would you say, bougie or like sophisticated than living in
Um,
Bali, which is more tropical and just carefree and chill?
I would say yes and no. Like in terms of price tags, definitely Singapore has, I would say, three times whatever you want to pay in Bali. But I, with the same amount of money, I can live more bougily in Bali compared to Singapore. In
Yeah.
Singapore, you get like a 40 square meter, I don't know what that is in feet, like this block for the same amount of money that I could get a villa in Bali. So I would say I would live more lavishly in Bali for the same amount of money. That
Hmm.
is a luxury that I would never get in Singapore. But what I remember from Singapore is just everything is like everything has order. So that's sometimes what I miss about like when
Yeah.
living in Bali because people are always late, traffic is always bad, there's always this and that, this and that. But that's probably what I miss about Singapore the most. That there's order. Like
Yeah.
people are not like you know.
Yeah, it's orderly, and I think I can attest to that by living between Shanghai and here. It's way more orderly in China. Like the Chinese run their country like a military. It's just like everything is very
Mm,
efficient, easy, convenient, but of course it has its, negatives that we can discuss another time. But in Vietnam is more free and just like chill. So I like
mm,
that. But when shit needs to get done, it is hard, here sometimes. And Vietnam, sometimes you don't get things done unless you pay people. It's not even part of like
yeah.
being efficient. Be efficient at a price, which is kind of for better or worse. But I think
Yeah.
I did enjoy Bali. I like cruising around on the bikes. Honestly, that's probably my favorite thing about
Mhm.
living in Southeast Asia now that I've learned how to ride the bike. Because when we
Mhm.
met, we didn't like I tried to drive the bike that one night outside of
Yeah.
the Mexican Lola's. Was it Lola's?
Yeah, we went to Lola's and then
I
we
don't know.
moved to Black Sand Brewery.
Yeah,
And
and
then you,
I drove, but I was like amateur, I almost fucked up. You had that big ass
mm,
bike. Yeah, I almost fucked up,
yeah.
but I did crash in Bali once or twice. But after that, I learned how to ride the bike, and ever since, I just found this
Mm,
love driving around the countryside, driving around the cities at night. Here in Saigon, it's beautiful driving around at night. It's cool. So that's
mm,
one thing I do enjoy. I always get attention from people, when I'm on the bike, which is kind of funny. The Vietnamese, they might look at me and they're like, "Oh, this is surprising." Like this foreign, I'm all dressed up, all decked out in my protective
mm.
stuff. I take off, they're like, "Oh, this guy's a foreigner." So yeah, I get funny attention whenever I'm driving around. But
You get stares
speaking,
or like
you know what?
people stare at you?
Yeah, sometimes, but it's not really like
Mm.
a bad stare. They're just like curious or fascinated. Like, oh wow, this
Oh,
guy,
okay.
like props, like he's got the bike. That's pretty cool. So it's like a good thing. So I
Mm,
don't mind
okay.
it. What about you? Do you get good attention in Bali or like because you travel around the world, do you find you
Mhm.
get good attention or better attention from people in general or maybe men with like dating in Bali
Yeah.
versus your other places you've been?
Uh,
That makes
it's hard to compare, but generally, I think I get more of the flirtatious stare when I'm abroad, especially because I spend um, almost 1 year, 10 months in Germany, and also I spent time in Boston as well. I would probably get
yeah,
a lot more people coming to me, and like sometimes even these type of like people pulling up like with their car, like saying, "Where are you from?" This kind of thing in Europe and um, in the States. But it's more so because like I look unique and I'm like racially like it's a question where I'm from, ambiguous.
yeah,
So, but in Bali, I would say people are a lot more open-minded to talk, to make friends, to like people are generally a lot more chill, like rather than from what I experienced in Europe. But European men are, I would say, more poised when it comes to approaching like women from my
mm,
experience. So it's
more
way
poised.
different. In Bali, you could be sure that if a guy talked to you, maybe he just wants to hook up. But yeah, in Europe,
Yeah,
probably a lot more efforts put.
yeah. Damn. So do you find that it's dating in the world is easier than dating, I guess, in Bali? Because I know you traveled a lot. Do you
Mm,
find that maybe European men are more appealing than the average like run-of-the-mill guy coming into Bali? Because I think when you travel abroad, if you're in Europe, I would assume that they probably take you a little more serious rather than in Bali
mm.
because like we said, it has that vibe of like transient culture. Like maybe no one really takes it serious. So is it easier dating outside of Bali, whether if you're in another country?
Yeah, I would say yes
Uh,
because I when I date, I look for something long term. So that definitely
yeah,
fits what I'm looking for more. Like people who are already thinking about the next, I don't know, 3, 5 years. Like they think about okay, how they want their lives to be, and generally that comes with relationship. Like they want to be serious faster, rather than in Bali. Sometimes you could date for like 6, 7, 8 months and still not sure what your relationship status is. And that could be annoying. So I would typically not wait that long. If after, let's say, 5 months, we don't know what we are, I think it's time to call it quits. But yeah, it's for
yeah.
me, it's easier outside of Bali.
Hey, yeah. Where's your favorite country that you traveled to or been to? Mrs. A Global. You're like the where in the world is Carmen San Diego? You know what that is? You remember that? I don't know if
What
you
Carmen
remember
San
that TV
Diego?
show. It's called Where in the World is Carmen San Diego. It was like a show
Oh,
or like a series when I was younger, and it was like it was just a little. It was like a Nickelodeon. You know Nickelodeon? You ever heard of
yeah, I
Nickelodeon?
do.
In like one of
Yeah,
those shows when I was
it's
younger, where
cartoon.
the San Diego's you have to guess where she's at based upon all these clues. That's how I felt with you, because every time I talk to you, it's somewhere new. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
where in the world
I
is it?
also do
Yeah.
not I don't update my Instagram real time because I don't want to have like I
Want
have
people
had some
following
bad
you.
experience. Yeah. So yeah, my
All right,
favorite.
so go
Okay,
ahead.
I would categorize two different things for island. type of place and city type of place. I would say for
Right.
island, I only visited Sri Lanka once, and that left really good impression on me. So I want to say that would probably be my top beach destination along the coast.
Mhm.
And for city, I mean, because of how open it is, open, like, there's uh, legalized stuff. So I would say probably
Yeah.
Amsterdam is one of my favorites. Yeah. Oh, and
Yeah,
Bangkok too, because
Amsterdam,
Bangkok already legalized.
yeah. Amsterdam is my favorite place as well when it comes to
Mm.
the legalizing of certain things. But back when I was in, that means I want to go experience that. I didn't get to experience that when I
Mm.
was in Amsterdam. I know we don't have much time left, but I'll go over some quick questions. So we mentioned Instagram privacy, and I have
Mm.
this this gripe now. So Instagram came up with the chat invite feature. You know about that, right? Where like
What's
if a
that?
guy or you a sliding in the DM, if a man
Mm-hmm.
sends you a message without you already following him, a man's message will go to the girl's general inbox, I think. And a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
times these girls don't even see the messages. So if I
Oh.
meet a girl and then I send her, I follow her and I send her a message, she might not even get it. If she doesn't follow me back right away, she might not even know. And I think it's a fucked up feature because it just kills opportunities. There used to be more opportunities for men to slide in the DM and get a girl to respond. Now, even if they met out and they liked each other, there's a chance she might
Mm-hmm.
not even see that message and forget. So you think it's a good feature? Because I think what they're trying to do is protect women because there's probably a ton of Instagram influencers that are getting bothered. I think Instagram's just like,
Mm.
we're gonna put from getting hit on randomly by random guys. You think it's a good feature?
Yeah.
What do
I
you
think it's
think?
good.
I think
Like,
people probably like
because
it.
Ricky, I've shared this with you. Day in a life, and I'm not an influencer or anything, but day in a life as a woman on Instagram, you get like tons of messages, and not to say like every woman has that. Every woman that I know that has Instagram must have some like guys just like DMing them nonstop. So I would say it's a good feature because generally, if I really want to talk to someone, I would probably share numbers, I message or WhatsApp, and not stick with Instagram. But yeah, that does reduce guys kind of like riz in DM. But that's I think that's good. Like it's a good thing. Like guys then have to try like ways to make them stand out among all the crowd. And that's usually like I really like guys who are funny. So sometimes I would just respond to guys who are like hilarious, even if I don't like them or the photo physically, like
Yeah,
based on the photo. I'll just like sometimes it's a nice one to read, like the funny ones.
the comedy, having a sense of humor is important to get your attention.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you said.
Mm-hmm.
That's an important quality.
That really is.
Okay. That leads to another question, actually. So, when it comes to long-term relationships, what's better suited for you, a nice guy or an edgy guy? Or should there
Mm-hmm.
be a balance? 'Cause nice guys sometimes can get walked over, and then there's not,
Mm-hmm.
I won't call them asshole guys, but there's the edgy guys. Should there be a
Yeah.
balance, or is one better than the other for long-term relationships?
So I have a knack for edgy guys who turn nice only with me. So guys
Or no?
who
Oh,
probably are known to be like playboys or fuckboys, but then they would drop it all to chase me. I have had some experiences with that, so that's probably more my type. I don't really care like about the past as long as like it's not carried to the present.
yeah. So they're willing to hang up their cleats for you, basically. You know what that
Mm.
means?
I don't know.
Yeah, it means the player is done. Like the player is done. Like they
Mm.
hang up their jersey, they hang up their cleats. Yeah,
Mm.
I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like I used to be such a nice guy, and then I had to I still am, but I got walked over a bit when I was younger. So I try to keep a balance of being a little edgy, but also a little, nice when the girl when it warrants it. When she has to deserve that.
Hmm.
She has to show um, capable of receiving that. Well. But that's pretty cool. I agree in a way. I do have another question about, probably one more question about dating. I
Okay.
have to know. So, what are the three essentials all men should know about dating Asian women? because I think a lot of girls have certain traditions in Asia when it comes to long-term relationships and family.
Mhm.
Are there three essentials a man should know when approach trying to date an Asian woman? Things that he should go into knowing and understanding.
Um, See, the thing is like there are, I would say, generally a lot of different types of Asian girls. There's the kind of like ambitious Asian girls that are more into like education, like career, etc. There's like those type of like
Yeah.
tiger mom to be. And there's also Asian girls who prefer traditional conservative, open the door, kind of, get all the checks and all these stuff. So it really differs. Like I would say the most important thing is to know what kind of girl you're dealing with and then like responding
Mm.
to that, like because every like you see even do you know this term jungle Asian versus fancy Asian?
Yeah, actually, I think you introduced me to that term.
Yeah.
You were the first
So
one.
the comedian Ali Wong, like she introduced like, okay, so jungle Asian is the Viet, Thai, Filipino, Indonesian, and then the fancy Asian would be the Chinese, Korean, Japanese, and culturally like these already like differ. So I would say if you have to like you have to know your audience because culturally these can differ. But yeah, three essential, I would say like yeah, get to know who you're dealing with, what type of Asian girl that is, and I mean generally be truthful with your intention because now
Yeah.
hookup culture is more common, but from from me at least, like I'm an Asian girl and I prefer when a guy shows his intention from the get-go, like okay, he wants something serious. So I would say that's one essential. Get to know me, be honest with what you want, and probably um, be is this English chivalrous? Like because
Chivalrous. Yeah.
chivalrous, yeah.
Okay.
This
Chivalrous.
like even the little things, like it's nice to have a guy who like it doesn't have to be like big things or like oh yeah paying for dinner, but it could be even like I don't know opening the door for you. These little things to me it matters.
It's all that matters. Well, hey,
Hey
you know
Ricky,
what you got.
we have less than 1 minute. Should
I know
we?
we have less than a minute, so we just say thanks for anyone that was watching, and please look out for more content. And I just want to say thank you to my friend Maria. Hopefully, I can see you again some point soon in Thailand or Bali, and we'll catch each other later. Thank you
Bye
for answering my
Ricky.
question. All right, peace.
Take care.